Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover here today. So before we dive into these topics, if you end up enjoying the video or finding it informative, be sure to leave it a like. And if you are new here to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. I also just want to say today officially marks PlayStation's 30th anniversary. So if you want, let me know down in the comments below some of your best memories throughout the years playing on PlayStation. But we're starting here talking about the rumored PlayStation Handheld that is apparently in development. We have another source coming out and corroborating the rumor and making it known that, yeah, this is apparently something that is actually happening. It says here, Digital Foundry has corroborated Bloomberg's report on Sony's new PlayStation handheld console. Sony could be gearing up for its next big move in the video game handheld space. According to a recent Bloomberg report, the company is in the early stages of developing a portable console that would play its PlayStation 5 games on the go. While the details are scarce, this concept would expand Sony's ecosystem by bringing high-quality gaming experiences to a portable platform. The report suggests the handheld aims to compete with the Nintendo Switch and potentially counter Microsoft's rumored mobile gaming efforts. The idea builds on the PlayStation Portal, which was released in 2023. However, this new handheld is expected to go further by directly supporting PS5 titles without relying on an internet connection. And now we have some new information that seems to support the claims of this PlayStation handheld console being in development. In a new video released on Monday, Digital Foundry's John Linneman shed more light on Bloomberg's report, stating that they had heard about the project months ago. What's interesting about this is we actually heard about this handheld some months ago from a couple of sources specifically, said Linneman. So we're not in the business of leaking things, but it's interesting that this finally sort of started to make its rounds because it just sort of confirmed what we had seen and heard off the record about this existing, which is cool. He continued, so to me, this sort of just strengthens the notion that, yeah, they're very much working on something, and this article makes it seem like it's even further out than I actually thought based on that. So I'm not sure where it's going. I think there's like some prototype stuff out there already possibly. There's still a lot of questions for this, but it does feel like the future of offering a handheld and home console option is very likely at this point. So the evidence that Sony is making a dedicated PlayStation 5 handheld is mounting, and I think at this point it's safe to say that this is real, right? The only thing about it is still the fact that it's apparently multiple years away and it is very early in development. But I will say what Digital Foundry did add to this is that right now there are apparently prototypes out there, which is very fascinating. And so, yes, I agree with what John Linneman said. It seems like next generation, it's not just going to be all about the home console, but we are going to see both a home console and a dedicated handheld from Sony. And I think that's honestly very interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they handle this. So I will continue to keep you guys updated. Moving on to the next topic, we actually have an interesting update regarding FromSoftware and their future projects. Being reported by WCCF Tech, Elden Ring developer FromSoftware is currently not considering creating a sequel for their highly successful game, but this doesn't mean that the series won't be expanded on in the future. During today's PlayStation Partner Awards, Japanese publication Game Watch talked with FromSoftware president Hidetaka Miyazaki about what's next for the development studio after the release of the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree expansion. At the moment, the studio is not considering the development of a second entry in the series, but this doesn't mean that a sequel will never be made. For the time being, FromSoftware is working on multiple projects covering different genres, some of them under the direction of Miyazaki himself, which will show some different sides of the Japanese development studio. So we do have direct confirmation from Miyazaki himself that Elden Ring 2 is not a project that is currently in development. Again, he's not saying it's never going to happen. But what's also interesting is the confirmation that they are working on multiple projects. Maybe not the most surprising thing. FromSoftware is definitely known to work on multiple AAA projects at once, but they do highlight that they're going to be in different genres. So this is going to be, I would say, really interesting to see in the next year, 2 years, these new FromSoftware games revealed. they might be very different than what we were expecting, but I don't necessarily think anybody is opposed to that. I mean, the idea of FromSoftware kind of expanding beyond what we've seen them do with Dark Souls, Sekiro, Elden Ring, and Bloodborne. I mean, they did do Armored Core recently, but just kind of really going in some very different directions. I think it would be very interesting, and I think for a lot of people, very welcome. Also, just want to point out here, kind of crazy to think that with a game like Elden Ring, considering how successful that is, they're just like, yeah, we're not making another one right now. Just goes to show how FromSoftware operates. You know, they have like one of the most successful video games ever made, which goes on to sell more than 25 million copies. I mean, I feel like literally any other studio, any other video game publisher would be like, yep, first thing we're doing is a sequel to that. But they're just like, nah, maybe later on, maybe we just won't do it. It's hard to say. Very interesting. Moving on to the next topic, we're talking about Marvel Rivals and how a PS5 Pro version of this game has been confirmed. Being reported by Gaming Bolt, with Marvel Rivals launch approaching, NetEase Games has been ramping up the rollout of new information on the hero shooter, with the newest batch of details focused on its PS5 version, courtesy of an update published by the PlayStation blog. Specifically, NetEase Games has revealed that on the base PS5, Marvel Rivals will run at 1440p resolution at 60 frames per second by default. As a high-intensity multiplayer competitive game, smoothest performance has always been the top priority during development. Marvel Rivals maintains a 60 FPS at 1440p resolution by utilizing Unreal Engine 5's Lumen Global Illumination and Chaos Destruction technology. The combination of visuals and performance in Marvel's Rivals is sure to deliver dynamic visual effects while you engage in epic superhero battles. That's what they say on the PlayStation blog. Meanwhile, the game will also feature a high frame rate mode, which will be able to output at 120 FPS. Now, it says here when it comes to the PS5 Pro that Marvel Rivals will be enhanced for Sony's mid-gen hardware upgrade. A new Pro mode will make use of PSSR to run at 4K 60 FPS, while on the Pro, the game will also feature support for lumen reflections, which will allow for more immersive and dynamic lighting effects. And the high frame rate mode will obviously also be available on the PS5 Pro. So there you go. Just wanted to throw it out there that there is another game getting Pro support. But it's also worth noting that with Marvel Rivals specifically, there's going to be a bonus for PS Plus members that get a free cosmetic pack. It's inspired by the Venom suits first seen in 2018's comic Spider-Geddon. It'll include a skin, a name card, a spray, and a pose. So there you go. Another game that was recently confirmed to be enhanced for the PS5 Pro is Warhammer 40K Darktide. And WCCF Tech did a Q&A with the studio, and they did confirm that there was an exclusivity deal with Microsoft, and now that that deal is done, they're bringing the game over to PS5. The studio was asked how long it took them to enhance this game for the PS5 Pro, and the developer said once the bulk of the work to bring Darktide to PS5 was nearing completion, enhancing Darktide for PS5 was relatively easy. We already supported features like DLSS, FSR, XESS on PC, so adding PSSR didn't require too much work. Now we have more horsepower to get players blasting heretics with bigger frames and faster. The next question is, what do you think of PS5 Pro's hardware? What is the single feature you were most impressed with? They say the addition of PSSR is definitely a game changer to get those frame rates up while keeping the image quality as good as possible. That said, PSSR is not purely hardware related, so I would have to say that the beefier GPU is the single hardware feature that left us really impressed. They asked the question here, how does the PS5 version stack with the maxed out PC version? Does the PS5 Pro version feature the highest graphics settings available on PC? They say the PS5 Pro version runs PSSR assisted 4K at 60 FPS with most settings in what would equal PC high settings. We are running PSSR in the balanced mode equivalent, which puts the internal resolution at 2258 by 1270. So yeah, as I said, I will keep you guys updated with games that are coming out that are going to be PS5 Pro enhanced. Obviously, there's been a bit of a rocky start to the PS5 Pro with some games regarding PSSR. So we're hearing that both of these games are leveraging PSSR. It's going to be very interesting when these games are analyzed to see if there are improvements or if they're also going to potentially run into some problems. So guys, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. If you did, be sure to leave it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out. On top of all that, but until next time, guys, take care.